Troy needs late inning heroics to hold off the South Alabama Jaguars and possibly save their season. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. All right, we had sweeps, we had fantastic finishes, and we had missed opportunities. That was quite the weekend in the Sun Belt. And I am going to start off by saying, if people don't think I'm rooting for the Sun Belt to do well, then I don't know what we're doing here, okay? People think because I say that if someone loses, they'll be on the bubble, they think I'm rooting for one team or another. I want as many teams in the NCAA tournament as possible. All right. I think it's going to be 3 right now. I guess there's a shot that Texas State and the Cajuns can win the Sun Belt. All of a sudden, Old Dominion is in position to get a top 6 seed out of nowhere. But the Cajuns are all of a sudden hot. But I don't think it's going to be other than one of those 3 teams: Coastal, Troy, and Southern Miss. One of those 3 teams are going to win the Sun Belt regular season. I do hope it's one of the other 2 because it'll most likely be 4 teams in the NCAAs. All right. The first growth of this podcast didn't come in the fall of 22 when I started it. It came in 23 when Southern Miss was hosting Tennessee. And it wasn't a big deal about Southern Miss advancing to the Super Regional. It was about Southern Miss hosting Volunteers. Because I think their stadium is bigger, is basically it. And then we had the whole Applebee's controversy, which was hilarious and ridiculous. And unfortunately, Southern Miss missed out on that because it would have been another, not missed out on it, but lost the Super Regional at home, probably should have won. They would have gone to the College World Series and, would have had at least a couple of games, if not had a good shot at doing some damage in them. Anyway, so I'm rooting for all Sun Belt teams. Obviously, everyone can't win, but I'm rooting for all the Sun Belt teams to do as well as possible. The longer this goes on, the more content I have to talk about when there's nothing else going on in college sports at all. So I like the idea of the Sun Belt teams doing as well as possible. Having said that, both Southern Miss and Troy are in odd predicaments until they play each other at the end of the season. They don't play. Troy's already played Coastal. Southern Miss, as we've been over, hosted Arkansas State, and now they're going to get the Cajuns. Troy was at South Alabama, and now I think they are hosting Arkansas State. And there's a difference in the RPI when you host and when you're on the road. All right. You get the benefit of the doubt of more points when you win on the road. All right. And it hurts you a little bit more when you lose at home. Okay. That's the thing. All right. So it was, as we pointed out in Friday's episode, but I clipped the Southern Miss situation where if Southern Miss loses one to Arkansas State, they're going to fall back towards the bubble. In fact, both of them. They would have to lose both, one to Southern Miss, one to Arkansas State, and one to the Cajuns to fall back into the top 40. All right. Now, as of this recording, they're 30 on Sunday evening. All right. Troy, on the other hand, was in the same spot. They were actually 39 heading into the series. I think they fell back when they won one. Both the teams fell back after they won on Friday, which is very odd. But then Troy lost. Troy lost on Saturday, and they were heading to a loss on Sunday, trailing 3-2, heading into the top half of the 9th. And it ended very quickly. Not ended, but things changed very quickly in the top half of the 9th. Again, working today, so I didn't see the entire ball game, but I may have had it on the phone while it was happening. And I know it went 3-2 to the ninth, and then all of a sudden his bases loaded and nobody out. So now if you're South Alabama, you're looking for, can we get a run home and get a double play? Can we get an out with a sac fly and maybe, go to the bottom of the ninth tied, go to the bottom of the ninth down by 1? Nope. We're going to go down by 3 because Sean Darnell hits a grand slam. Okay. Turns a 3-2 South Alabama lead into a 6-3 Troy lead. And I did go back and I watched this 0-1 high fastball. This was letter high. This was, as far as I'm concerned, a pretty good pitch. Not the easiest pitch to hit. So that's a good job by Darnell. And by me saying he saved, at least it appeared, that he saved their season because Troy loses that ball game. They're falling. They were 44 entering the day. I think they're towards 42. They're going to be closer to 50. All right. And the thing about Troy is there's two things going on here. They have won every single series they have played this year, not only in the Sun Belt, but the entire year. They have not lost one series this season. They also haven't swept anybody. And so they were going to be in a position of not only not swept South Alabama, but going to lose 2 out of 3. And they're going to be closer to 50 than they were to 40. Now they're seriously in bubble territory. But Darnell hits a grand slam, and that makes it a 6-3 ball game. Oh, we're not over yet. No, not really. South Alabama rallies in the 9th inning. They get a 2-run home run from Brooks. That makes it a 6-5 game. I'm usually one of those guys, having spent a lot of time in baseball in the minor leagues as a radio broadcaster. That's kind of a rally killer, right? When you come up 1 run short of tying the game on a home run, that's usually the rally killer, but that's not what happened. All right. Holt walked and Smith singled, and then Kirk Morrison struck out looking on an 0-2 pitch. So South Alabama actually had 2 on. Tying run was on. The winning run was on. The go home run was on. And Morrison struck out looking on an 0-2 pitch. All right. I did not see that last at bat. I did see another at bat that ended a ball game, a very different ending. Same result, but different ending. And we'll get into that. Kind of tough getting caught looking on a 0-2 pitch, but Troy does prevail. South Alabama, almost with a come from ahead victory, but Troy does prevail. They go back up to 42, and that may have saved their season. There's no other way to talk about it, because when I say they've won every single series, they also haven't swept. So why would I think they're going to sweep Arkansas State, although Arkansas State just got swept by Southern Miss? I'm not sure if those two things have anything to do with it. And it is Troy's going to Arkansas State. All right. So if we're just going to do this based on history, Troy's probably going to take 2 out of 3. And if you take 2 out of 3 at Arkansas State, you do get a couple of bonus points because you won on the road, but you're losing to a team that's going to be somewhere in the 150 RPIs, right? Something along those lines. Let's see if they've moved up because they played Southern Miss, a few times. They're 147 as of right now. If Troy was 49 and lost 1 ball game to Arkansas State, they're going to be in the 50s, and forget the bubble, sayonara at large berth. Now, again, they get Southern Miss at home, so we'll see what happens after that. But right now they're 42. They're in good shape. Here's the other thing about Troy, the one thing that they have that I don't think Southern Miss does. Troy's actually at 42 or 44 right now. So, well, hold on. It switched 40, 42, 44, whatever, somewhere in there. They get Alabama on Tuesday. That's a big deal. All right. It'd probably be a big deal to Alabama because it's a top 50 RPI game. And Alabama is, I mean, they're right there too, right? They're 13. They're looking to host outside shot of a national seed. That is not exactly going to be your typical midweek ball game. All right, let's take a timeout. We'll go over the sweeps and we'll go over the missed opportunities still to come. We'll do that right after I tell you about Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory over 200,000 parts from more than 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage, and now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo code S-H-5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Eyes have dried out, and I just bit my tongue. It's going to be a great episode. Ouch. All right, so we did the Troy ball game. Sean Darnell saves their season, turning a 3-2 deficit into a 6-3 lead. They hang on for a 6-5 victory, and instead of being 50, they're closer to 40. All right. Meanwhile, Coastal Carolina did not have much of a series against App State, as App State has, well, I locked horns with two of the best teams in the conference, right? They hosted Southern Miss, and they hosted, or they went to Coastal Carolina and did not win a ball game in either series. So App State is fading, and in a big way. And again, these games weren't particularly close. Friday was 11-1. Coastal run rule in 8 innings. 6-2 on Saturday and 10-1 on Sunday. So Coastal Carolina, as of, let's see if it changes on while I'm clicking on it here. Coastal Carolina is 12th. They've actually gone up 1 spot. All right. So they are right in the thick of things when it comes to hosting. All right. That's where they are. Now, interestingly enough, I got people telling me Coastal's got issues because, boy, if they lose a series and they got ULM and Old Dominion, you know, that could be a problem. And I would tell you, if they lose one game to each of those teams, it's going to be a problem. They will not host if they lose. If they lose one game to ODU and they lose one game to ULM, unless they got to get to the semifinals or win it all, then they'll get back to hosting. But they will be out of the hosting territory going into the Sun Belt Championship Series, into the Sun Belt tournament. They won't be hosting. But that's, you know, a lot of teams are like that. My guy, Mike Lavin, can't really lose a ball game because, you know, if he's top 40 going into the Sun Belt, into the, I guess the CAA championship, is it the Colonial? He'll get in. But otherwise, lose a ball game, and he's got to win the tournament, and that puts everybody in a tough spot. All right, so Coastal easy with the sweep. All right, Southern Miss easy on Saturday and easy on Sunday, not so easy on Friday. And this was not a classic back and forth ball game. This was a classic Friday night pitchers duel, ball game. Southern Miss wins 2-1 on a 9th inning Russo home run, I believe, to lead off the inning. Southern Miss 2 runs on 4 hits. Arkansas State 1 run on 5 hits. We always make fun of how long those games take with the big blowouts. This took 2 hours and 6 minutes. Boom, all done. That's a classic ball game, and that was the closest that Southern Miss lost this weekend, and they didn't. Arkansas State scored 1 in the second, Southern Miss 1 in the third, and then it took until the 9th to get it done. Obviously, just not a whole lot of opportunity. Let me see if I see left on base. I don't see totally left on base. Arkansas, this is Arkansas State's pitching. Arkansas State's pitching is really good. They lost a ball game where they gave up 2 runs on 4 hits. They walked 1 and struck out 10. Unreal. And yet Southern Miss gave up 1 run on 5 hits, did not walk a batter, and they struck out 10. That's awesome. That's a classic ball game. All right. And yet Southern Miss fans won't get out of my mentions because they're very touchy about being on the bubble. Their thought process is being on the bubble means we're not getting in. Didn't say that. I said if they lost 1, they'd be back towards the bubble. And I still think I'm right because they won on Friday night and they were 31. And before they played on Saturday, they were 36. So they won and dropped 5 spots. They just swept Arkansas State, and they moved up a total of 1 spot. Now, it's a good thing they didn't lose, because if they lost, they may be closer to 40 than 30 based on what happened after they won 1 game. And then if you lose 1 this week, then you'd be in the 40s. All right. But now they're solid at-large berth as of right now. And, of course, you got Troy at the end of the regular season. All right. Cajuns, all of a sudden, are heated up. They went to Atlanta and took what is now a reeling Georgia State ball club. Cajuns playing kind of like Cajuns baseball. They're finally hitting and pitching. Winning on the road is not easy. It's not easy in the Sun Belt. It's not easy at any level. And that's a good job by Louisiana. Maybe they are finally coming around. And that Troy win not only solidifies them, back towards closer to 40, but it also gives them that 2-game cushion over the Cajuns instead of 1. Now, Troy took the series from the Cajuns, so the Cajuns would have to win outright to get a higher seed than Troy, but having a 2-game cushion heading into the final 2 weekends is a lot better than having a 1-game cushion heading into the final weekend. All right. And the Cajuns are heading to Southern Miss. They're going to find out exactly how good they are. God forbid they take a ball game or win 2. They'll feel really good about themselves. But again, we've been over this, outside of helping the conference itself, because if you look at the standings, it is not the strongest of all Sun Belts. It is incredibly top heavy with Coastal, Southern Miss, and Troy. Cajuns RPI is like 102. I don't even think half the teams have winning records. Certainly not in the conference. And it's hard pressed overhead. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams have winning records overall in the Sun Belt. Their overall record. Coastal Carolina, Southern Miss, Troy. The Cajuns are 1 game over 500. I didn't count Texas State because they are 500. Georgia Southern is over 500. And Marshall is 1 game over 500. That's not really impressive. We'll see what happens. Again, the point is that if the Cajuns take 2 out of 3, does that help the overall RPI? If Southern Miss's RPI drops a little bit, but the Cajuns' RPI goes way up. We'll see. Again, I'd be shocked if Southern Miss doesn't, win the series. the big game is going to be Friday with Chase Morgan on the mound for the Cajuns. So we'll see how that goes. The other team with maybe a surprise sweep here is Texas State all of a sudden, right? With all of their big upset victories against Power 5 squads, Texas State finds themselves now 12-12 in the Sun Belt. And as I mentioned, 500 overall, 24-24. And they sweep ULM, who's lost 6 in a row. But all of a sudden, Texas State is now tied with Old Dominion for 5th place. Again, we're not going to worry about tiebreakers at this point in time. So one team would finish 5th and one team would finish 6th. They would both get their byes and play in the double elimination portion of the tournament. All right. And so that is huge for the Bobcats. And, huge for ODU. ODU, by the way, takes 2 out of 3 from Marshall after they lose Friday night. And Marshall is in the missed opportunities portion of the show. Now, I mean, some teams, I don't know if they let the whole season slip away. Obviously, Texas State maybe just turned their season around just by winning 3 in a row, putting themselves, in a spot to get a first-round bye. Now, they are 3 games behind the Cajuns. So that means, I don't think anybody would be shocked outside of Cajuns fans if Southern sweeps the Cajuns. All right. Who does Texas State play? Just to see. All right. Texas State's playing Georgia Southern. That's a big series. Big series. All right. Speaking of Georgia Southern, they're on the missed opportunities list. Let's take a timeout. Marshall with a missed opportunity. Georgia Southern with a missed opportunity. We'll come back and do more on what was a thrilling Sun Belt weekend right after I tell you about Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Hopefully everybody had a tremendous weekend. We were extremely busy down at Beam, as you would expect, with the Kentucky Derby in town. Busier on Friday with the Oaks, and then Sunday as people were leaving. So hopefully everybody enjoyed themselves. That was quite a race as well. All right, give it up to Sovereignty for pulling that one out. All right. Missed opportunities. All right. And you got to start off with the Marshall Thundering Herd. I probably should have taken the standings heading into Saturday because I'm not going to remember them because now they've lost twice. Marshall missed an opportunity to be in 5th place as they were the hottest team, one of them in the conference, having won 7 in a row. So I guess Southern Miss is a little bit hotter because they've won 9 in a row, but Marshall lost twice. So they would have won 9 in a row as well. Coastal's won 7 in a row. Southern Miss has won 9 in a row. Marshall, had they won their last 2 ball games against ODU, would be 12-12, and exactly where ODU is. Someone actually asked me if ODU has a chance at a top 6 seed, and now they do. I just didn't think they did. They had lost that Friday night ball game, and Marshall was rolling, and you got to give it up to ODU for bouncing back, winning a couple of tight ball games on Saturday and Sunday. And I just think that's a huge missed opportunity by Marshall. Great job by Old Dominion to take advantage, and they have flip-flopped. Those 2 teams absolutely flip-flop. Marshall is now, they go from possibly getting a first-round bye, same for Old Dominion for that fact of the matter. They are in a position to get a first-round bye. Now Marshall is one game out of not making the tournament. Change like that. So that is a huge missed opportunity. All right. Here's another missed opportunity, and I do want to go over this a little bit. I'm sorry to pick on the kid because I think he hit it like 360 feet. Georgia Southern loses 2 out of 3 at home to Georgia Southern. They lost 11-1 on Friday night, come back to win Saturday 5-3, and they lose 7-6. Georgia Southern loses to James Madison. Did I say that right? They lose to JMU. I say Georgia Southern lost to Georgia Southern. They lost to JMU. All right. Inexplicable. This is at home. One thing if it was at Harrisonburg, but this was in Statesboro. And just awful if you are Georgia Southern, because you could have been in that spot where you're going to get a top 6 seed, and now they are a game out of that. Just awful. And again, I'm not really, I don't want to pick on the kid because I don't like doing that. And we don't know what happens after such a thing. But I do mention this a couple of times. I want to see this score. Georgia Southern was leading this ball game 5-1 after 2. James Madison scores 4 in the 5th, 2 in the 6th. Georgia Southern comes back with 1 in the 7th, had 2 on and 2 out in the 9th inning. And I did watch this, and it was, I got to go to we got the lineups. Oh, here it is. It was Cade Parker, the shortstop, all right, at the plate. And he is facing it would have been Jaden Kinsler, okay? And I've said this before. It's mostly baseball, but it's a lot of basketball, right? We saw a team, in fact, it may have been Marshall against JMU, fouling with fouling a 3-point shooter for a 4-point play. Now, I think the guy missed the free throw, but nonetheless, ridiculous. All right. So you got to know the situation. You have to understand what's going on around you. Okay. 2 on and 2 out. We find out from the announcers that Jaden Kinsler hasn't pitched for 2 months. Hasn't pitched since, I think they said March 1st. So he has not seen any action in like over 60 days. You got to be kidding me. So again, I'm not a ball player. Didn't get past Little League. But I've seen enough to know my approach is going to be I got to get at least 1 strike. This guy's coming in here to save the game. Hasn't pitched in 2 months. First of all, I don't know what he throws. It's not like I saw him Friday night. And I can adjust to him. Even watch him pitch against my teammates. I have to see what he throws, and I have to see if he throws strikes. Misses the first pitch down low. 1-0. No, I'm definitely not swinging. Cade Parker is. Tailing fastball off the plate. Swings and misses 1-1. Now, if it goes 2-0, anything could happen there, right? I mean, you could totally change it. That's maybe when you're getting to get me over fastball. I'm still taking it. I'm going to see if you can throw a strike. All right. Misses another fastball. 2-1. Swings and misses again on another tailing fastball. And I don't think Kinsler's thrown a strike yet. Not yet. 2-2, swings at a strike, fouls it off. All right. So now Cade Parker sends it 370 feet or so to left field, maybe 368 if it was 370. and the kid for JMU catches it up against the wall. So Parker, hits it a long way. So that's why I can't kill the kid too much, because he almost hit the ball out for a dramatic 3-run home run. Doesn't change the point. If you're having an approach at the plate and the kid hasn't pitched for 2 months, can I see if he can throw a strike before I swing? Sometimes I just don't think. We get all these analytics and all these different kind of approaches, and we can't put 1 and 1 together. That's my only thing. Like, I would say, kind of like a leadoff guy, like leading off the ball game. You don't want the guy. A lot of times you want the guy to take 2 strikes so we could see, maybe you foul off a couple. All right. And you see 4 or 5 pitches so we can see what he sees, see what the guy has for the rest of the time. We're not so worried about this in that case, but Cade Parker hasn't seen this guy pitch, at least not this year. You got to let him throw a strike. Now, again, Parker, if it's 370 to left, he hit at 368, 369, just misses a 3-run home run. So again, can't kill him too much, but you got to know the situation, make the kid throw a strike, maybe make him throw 2. All right. But that's not what happened. But some missed opportunities for Georgia Southern. Oh, and by the way, bench wasn't much of a brawl. There was no brawl. Bench clears after the game. A lot of yapping. All right. JMU's had a tough season. They go into Statesboro, win the series. I'm sure Georgia Southern was yapping a bit. In fact, I think I saw the second base umpire yell into the dugout during like one of the at-bats and said to cut it out or something like that. And then it wasn't all that bad. There's a lot of jawing. Some of the coaches looked like they were going at it, but they separated them. And then the coaches were talking to the umpires and they had their arms around each other. Like, okay, whatever. Nonetheless, it was a great weekend. It really was. All right. The top teams almost all won, right? Troy continues their season-long series win. Coastal and USM, Cajuns all sweep, Bobcat sweep. ODU with a big 2 out of 3 series win. Marshall loses 2 out of 3. Georgia Southern loses 2 out of 3, and things are changing. All right. We'll keep an eye on that Alabama Troy ball game. That's going to help. And again, I do want to stress, I am rooting for the Sun Belt teams to do well, right? Last year, when we have 4 teams go to the regionals and none went to the super regionals. Guess what happens to the podcast? So people who know me know it's all about me. So the better that the Sun Belt does, the better that the podcast does. So I am rooting for the Sun Belt teams to do as well as possible. Honorary Cajun, because I lived in Lafayette, Louisiana for 6 years. All right. And I did cover the Cajuns for that time. All right. As soon as you guys go running around the football stadium with the head football coach, you let me know, because that's what I've done. All right. Then thank you so much for tuning in. We do have at least 1 coach, maybe 2. All right. I don't mind starting and perpetuating rumors. We may get Butch Jones on this week. We'll see. And the Cajuns just had their spring ball game. So I'm going to reach out to Dez and the Cajuns. And that would be almost half of what's left to get for this, what's left remaining for coaches to join me for football coaches for spring ball. All right. Thank you so much. Appreciate you tuning in. Really good episode outside of biting my tongue. Have a great Monday, everybody. And we'll talk to you again on Tuesday. You've been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day.